a great deal going on in the world of HeroClix. We're over that state hump and we're over that WKO hump. I am joined this week just by Jay.
Every one of those words you said added 10 minutes to our runtime.
What?
Saying that it's going to be short.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be short. Well, it's now a 50-minute podcast. This is the ideal show to get your questions in, guys, because goodness gracious, is there like next to nothing HeroClix wise to talk about other than we're probably going to spend a little bit of time talking about this, the current environment where we've seen Batman in the animated series in action a little bit more now. But yeah, I mean, even my week in HeroClix is pretty boring because I've been working a lot lately. So that's a thing. So yeah, my week in HeroClix is not much. Jay, have you played much HeroClix this week?
I did play the HeroClix game, and I've been working on...
I heard that it's a good game.
Oh my god, that was so obnoxious. But I've also been working on getting the Canada Cup going, and I wanted to have a date announcement for right now, but the cards have not lined up in such a way, but hopefully by next week, I will have an announcement. As far as actual HeroClix goes, I played at the new 401 Games location, Young and Lawrence, yesterday. Today's Monday. Yesterday was Sunday. I played JSA, and I used this wonderful champion-made, amazing Hawkman, Hawkgirl, not duo doesn't exist anymore, along with Joker's Wild, Green Lantern, Red Tornado, Sand, and Midnight, Thug, Dr. Fate from Joker's Wild, and insert other modern JSA character. I had like +9. And it was fun. The Hawkman, Hawkgirl bring die length and move and attack and all the stuff that the team needed. And and printed out wit is a good thing. I played 3 games. I won one. I lost one. I helped my opponent beat me to some degree by kind of guiding and being like, no, this character totally dies if you hit it one more time, kind of thing. But my game against Mike was not the most fun for me because the store just moved and there was a sale and whatever. So I did a thing where you got a God prob for every number of dollars you spent, and Mike brought a brick. So he had 40, and he used literally all of them against me in the second game of the tournament. So I don't really feel bad about losing because that shouldn't have happened in a real game. But yeah, it was hilarious watching him. Yeah, the first one, he used like 20 rolls, and I needed a 5, and I kept on hit. You keep on probbing it. I would miss one, theme prob, hit, well, over and over, and then eventually I did get the 5. But it was still a pretty close game because just using all the probs took up so much time. But other than that, that was pretty much it. I haven't done any play testing because I don't think I play any more competitive this year, except for like a random open in a store that's not mine. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I stand on competitive play for the rest of the year. I know the weekend of October I'm dead to the world, unfortunately. My next competitive play is Worlds, which is late in the year. So that's kind of what I got to look forward to down in Philadelphia. And there's still 1 or 2 sets possibly to come out before then. So planning is still a little early in the game to be planning.
We have Battle World. Oh, Star Trek.
And Star Trek: The Next Generation. Do not underestimate Star Trek because there's always something.
I just can't remember how vague the release dates are on that. Secret World is October, and then December for Star Trek. Yeah. Or no, November for Star Trek.
November for Star Trek.
Most likely Star Trek is legal, like almost certainly.
Well, and at that point, I've also got to start considering saving up for those sets to come out, and the trip, and like the more I think about it, the more stressful it gets again. It's weird, and it's like it's not even the competitive, like the competition. That's going to be the fun part for me, anyway. And talking Amber into being a competitive player again. That's going to be
good luck.
She's she's got the eye. She's looking at me like she's gonna murder me right now. So I'm just not. She's working out right now, so I shouldn't be bothering her. But yeah, we're gonna readdress strategies for Amber's next build, and I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. Super looking forward to things in the future. Anyway, I'm just trying to keep the show going, to be brutally honest. So I think I want to maybe next week start talking, readdressing anything that might have changed as far as number of figures that are available to us, a number of figures that we're going to see in competitive play. And I'm also probably going to looking into the new Gotham City and Gotham City Underworld possibilities that exist. It's been one of the most commonly asked questions, like, hey, what do these sets look like? And we're going to kind of start thinking about that for next week's episode, mostly to keep stuff on track. But one of the things that came up in the Patriot Hangout was, hey, what's good about Gotham City Underworld? Well, nothing has changed except that you guys are starting to pay attention again, because that's actually a team that's been relevant for a period of time, ever since people figured out how to get penguins across the board in a turn.
Yeah, well, we had last year's provincials. We had a top 4 team of just penguins jumping across the map, so it's a thing.
It was a Gotham City Underworld team too.
Yeah,
it was Derek Rutan. Derek Rutan. I think
it's Rutan. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his team. It took him a while to get it going. I actually had to give him a time warning because in the top 4, top 8. He was playing a game and I turned around and I was like, what turn is this? It's turn 2. Guys, it's half an hour into the game and it's turn 2. That's a little intense, to say the least. Mostly because his opponent was still in the starting area doing prep stuff. So that's it's one of those things. It's a big team, and if you're not me, it takes a little bit of thinking and thought process to get there. I am incredibly fast when it comes to that stuff on the grand scale of things. So yeah, people pointed that out when I was at the WKO.
With that many moving parts, you need to be fast. Otherwise, you're not going to get to play your own team, and you're just going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're spending 20 minutes trying to figure out where group pogs go, you just don't win games.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, part of the advantage of that is I won every single map roll and knew every single pathway that nobody was getting by. So I played a very, very well placed series of token, and anytime I left an opening, I knew I was within range of getting to that opening or dealing with that opening. People pushed through, but when they had to do so much to push through that they were overstretched when they did, or I was able to capitalize pretty strongly on it. Even the judge started getting stressed out watching people play against me when it got to the top 4, top 8 situations. He was over my shoulder, and then he had to walk away just to de-stress himself. He's like, how do you deal with that? And I'm thinking to myself, well, you do what Kenji did to me and what Emily did to me at Canadian Nationals, and you beat me. All right. I'm sorry, guys. This is a really weird week because I haven't done much. I haven't thought about much.
There's been next to no results. There was that one Rock Super Q, basically.
All right, let's spend a little time on that, I guess. You throw me a link for that, and I'll pull it up on it.
I don't think there's one link for all the teams.
He looks off his screen. It's like, oh, yeah, there's that Rock event. And then just
I know.
What Rock event? What were you looking at?
There wasn't a top 8 post. There was the one where PJ played his budget Gotham City Underworld team.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is a thing. The Majestics, not Majestic, Gen Con was occurring this. I went to Majestic's site as though that was going to tell me what I needed to know immediately. It is a great site to go to, though. But these results are still kind of fresh, and it does depend on who got out there.
Yeah, okay, so PJ, he was top 4. He played Clock King, Fast Forces Penguin, Super Rare Penguin from Joker's Wild, Title Harley, 3 Big Tonys, Ventriloquist, Common Joker, the one with Prob.
Yep.
So he also had the plus 10 points for the Joker map bonuses. So the
Hacienda.
It's kind of like Krakoa, where it makes random attacks, and also he gets Harley Pogs, basically the same dial as the Hyenas from Harley Quinn.
Yep.
Plus 9 theme is good. It's the highest I've seen in Modern. Like, the highest otherwise I saw was his Canadian Nationals +8, I think. So,
Well,
it's legit.
One thing worth noting is he had, what is it, 3 big Tonys on his team?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is another side effect of a no resource meta is you actually start seeing individual figures who have a really good function played in multiples.
Yeah.
I was guilty of it on my team, right? So
the Fast Forces Penguin on his own is just kind of that. Like, he was at the time 25 points, same as an entity, but like, you know, does almost what an entity does, but he's a character instead. So
yeah, but it's also flip floppable. Like, you could take what he has and move it to a different character with an attack, and also move penguins when you do that too.
Yeah, that's a fun combo because like you have 3 perplexes off Big Tony, you have Harley Quinn +2 perplex. The penguin that he pops out gets +1, so it's full. It's max stats. Get a free move. And Penguin himself can power action to give it a free move.
That's right.
And because of new rules, those are both at no cost, so you can stack them.
Yeah.
So, and penguins get places and attack things, and if you kill Penguin, it's a 0-point penguin.
Yep.
So,
and if it's a Psychic Blast penguin, it's Psychic Blasting with a 13 attack for 5 damage. Psychic Blast.
Is it 5?
I think it's 2 damage base.
I have the penguin card right here. It matters. No, they all start with 1.
Do they all start with 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's the running shot, Psychic Blast, the
charge. I think I noticed better having played with the figure.
Yeah, you did. Sights of Pulse Wave, charge. Yeah, so you do need that mobility, but once you're hitting things for 4 penetrating or pulse wavy damage, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's real good.
Yeah. And one of the things that was worth pointing out, PJ's been on the tear of because some people have been kind of getting up in arms about the cost of figures and the cost of the game, and the pay to win argument has returned. And this, I think, this argument comes up every 3rd or 4th tournament, to be brutally honest. And it's such a weird argument to have because the idea that the pay to win exists, some of these teams weren't pay to win until they won. If you kind of catch my drift, like Wolverine was fairly high at price when he first came out. Like I think he started at about 50 and has been going up consistently from there. And part of that is because he wins. If the team was not successful, Wolverine would be staying at a steady $30, $40 because
he would just be a call-in, but he's being main force.
Yeah, he's calling in, and the third part is that he's being played in multiples at such a high rarity. There's always been expensive figures in this game. I remember 13, 14 years and that was because he was 14 movement with hypersonic. And uniques were difficult to get because cases came with it was a lot of packs. It was I think
48 or something.
Came with 48 packs and you got 4 uniques in them, right? Case figures, and they were like 1 per like 6 cases, so they got rid. One for every 4 or 5, 6 cases. Like they hit between $100 and $400 depending on the one you were looking for, and they were Hero Clicks competitive worthless. Horror they win games in. I mean, figures, there will always be expensive figures, and whether or not they're required to win. I hope that my cutting in and out audio and visual might just be me though. No, it's not just me for you. Okay, sorry guys, I apologize, but my internet is terrible. It's been bad weather out, so.
Yeah, you were cutting in and out. I thought I
okay, because it had dropped you in and out of the.
Yeah, you kept on freezing on me. Oh.
All right, so I thought your internet. Nothing is downloading anything off to the side. Let's see. Drop that. I'm gonna blame Google Chrome on this one. How are we doing? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me properly. Come on. All right, let's try this again. Is that better?
You've not frozen yet.
I haven't frozen yet. Awesome. I just cleared out a bunch of open tabs and stuff that I had set up and ready to go. Oh, I wonder if Steam is uploading something. So let's close Steam. Apparently I am just completely unready to do this. All right. Back to reality here. So what I'm saying is, long story short, when you try to say pay to win, you attempt to take away this the skill that it takes to win. And when you have a consistency of players winning, like PJ Boland, like Patrick Iboko, like Daniel Powell, Sam Powell, like Emily locally, Devin locally, Tom Kerr, like when.
Son of a mother.
You can't take away from that and you try to take away from that when you try to use the pay to win argument. I don't know. And you want to jump on this before I continue more of my ranting?
Yeah, assuming that it goes through. Yeah, it's also the side tools that are the expensive ones. Like the main force isn't necessarily the hard part. It's the Wolverine ID. It's kind of the shared utility tools that everybody needs. Is not as much as the characters. Like if ID cards weren't a thing, it would be less of a prevalent thing. Because what you need Cyclops, you need Wolverine, pretty much. Those are expensive figures. But what people main forcing, like Sam Cap and stuff, like Shredder Clone isn't an expensive character. What's good now? Like Giant Girls are kind of expensive, but
But again, Giant Girl is only expensive because people buy them in numbers.
Yeah. But yeah, it's there's kind of the back resources, were harder to get at the time. It's those sort of background tools. It's not necessarily you can play a main force that's still good. If you don't have the ID card, that's kind of whatever. You don't have to have a Wolverine ID on every team, really. It's good, but you don't have to. So
and that's the thing. There's enough variation in the metagame that you can play on some level of a budget, but at the same time, you can't. Here is the expectation of the world of collectible gaming, because I come from Magic the Gathering background as well. I come from a Versus background as well, and I come from this game. So here is what you're going to hear all the time. For some reason, people expect to come into a a world-class tournament, expect to come in with a bag of commons and win. No. That's just never going to happen. I don't care what game you think it is. You're not going to win the pro circuit of Magic the Gathering with your bag of commons. You're not going to win, a HeroClix tournament with the common slot only. It's just it would be a wonderful world to be allowed to do that, but you can't expect that either.
Well, it's also compare HeroClix to any of those other games, and it's actually pretty cheap in comparison for competitive.
when you think of how expensive a singular card is, when you look at Magic the Gathering, you think about on par, I can find a card that's super expensive in Magic, and I can find a figure that's super expensive in HeroClix. But 9 times out of 10, with exceptions like the Wolverine and like the Giant Girl, I need one, right? Or I only need 2 or 3, right? If I have this one piece on a Magic card is 1/60th of my deck. And then if I'm going to need multiple expensive pieces in that deck, I'm going to be put out, like, at minimum to be competitive. I think in Standard, in Magic, you need to spend about $375, including your sideboard. And, like, a good portion of that's just your mana base, which is, how do I put that? Your points in the game. You get the points for free in HeroClix, guys. So,
right, and, like, you don't have to have some of that stuff in HeroClix. Like, you didn't play any ID cards, and you barely used your chase sideline, so you basically just had your team.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, some of the characters were a little more pricey, like Surtur, Carnage, whatever. But, like...
Well, Surtur, Groot, Carnage, they were all big parts of my team. And I can successfully say, yeah, my team is pretty pricey. I'm not gonna dissuade anybody from that. But when it comes down to it, I look at what I purchase on a regular basis for HeroClix, which is usually a case and a half for every set, and that half case is wonderfully provided to us by WizKids. My job as a caster or HeroClix personality online will require that I do work for WizKids for that. So it's not free necessarily. I do have to put out that video. We do have to edit that video. We do have to get that content out for you guys. So that is an important element of what we have to do. But then, so I buy a case and a half, and then from that case and a half, I trade around, get what I need, and then I may have to buy 1 or 2 figures. So my initial investment, if I actually look at it, is maybe $250 for a case and a half of HeroClix, and that's Canadian dollars. So if you live in the U.S., it's about $1.50. And that's like my initial investment, and then maybe I'll buy an extra $50 figure. So maybe my investment's up to $300 in a set. Now this is kind of collecting a library, but if I didn't choose to do that, I could just go ahead and build a team of what I want to be good, and I'll probably put myself out about the same. It's going to cost you the same one way or another. The saturation or the level of super rares and chases that you get in this game are significantly more controlled than most games, which means I have most of what I want to do to get out there. It's one of those things. It's and when people turn around and say, well, it's a pay-to-win team, well, it's also a participate-to-win, right? Like, you do have to get out there and play in these tournaments.
Yeah, it was like, there was one thread where somebody was complaining about expensive competitive pieces and mentioned the Unicorn Deadpool, and it's like, but
it's neither. It's not competitive. That's just rare.
Yeah, just because it's expensive doesn't mean, like, I remember WizKid specifically said before White Rabbit came out, like, the Ultra Ecosystem's not going to be expensive. Not competitive. It's expensive, but not necessarily competitive. So
yeah, I mean, a prime example is that the WKO, one of the newer players, did have a Unicorn's Deadpool on his team that was played. So I mean, he probably had him just in that figure had a more expensive team than mine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But that's another story altogether. But also, it's so much easier to borrow in HeroClix than other games, from what I'm guessing, because
absolutely, yeah.
Like there's a group for it now. Yeah. Like,
yeah, HeroClix is a game. I personally never do it because I have a comfort level and I prefer to own the figures. But I do oftentimes used to find myself loaning out figures. Now a lot of people don't borrow from me because I have a very volatile schedule at the current moment, and I can't guarantee them to make it out to tournaments. And that's that's kind of thing that happens. When I'm more consistent with schedule and able to say I am for sure showing up, people ask to borrow things from me, and I happily loan them out if I'm not using them. There's an important element where it's like, I have to not be using it. Or, I'll turn around and say, there is a chance I'm using it, but if I am not, it is all yours. My Ironheart is like consistently at that level.
Yeah, I mean, HeroClix is just such a great community in general. Like, I've never had an issue borrowing a figure that I really needed. I don't think. Like, I don't think I've ever had to not play something because I couldn't get it.
Yeah, I I distinctly remember a time I went to a Magic tournament and I had forgotten an uncommon in my deck, and I'd asked one of my buddies like, "Hey, you have one of these? I'll give you $1 or something for it." And just kind of I don't want to split up my extra set of 4. It's like, you have 4 in your deck, you have 4 on the side. Give me 1. And this guy was on my team, and Magic is a game where there's cash involved. So when you're on a team, that actually has a meaning. Like, if there's 4 guys on a team and the prize is $1,000 and one of you guys wins, everybody gets $250 because we all worked towards that prize. If you guys are in the top 2 and it's like $1,000 and $250, that's $1,250. You're splitting between each other. The prizes have a meaning, and the teams have a meaning in Magic. In HeroClix, they don't. That's why people loan and borrow and whatever. I
mean, at HeroClix, it's basically team means playtesting buddy and people that you travel with, and if you play a team event, that's your team. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I recently discovered there's a small subsection of people who actually hate the idea that teams exist in HeroClix. It's like, it's just people who play together and want to have a cool shirt or something and just be like, yeah, we play together. We're all friends. That's really all they're doing.
Yeah, friends. Friends are awful. What?
What's it?
The friendship bracelet HeroClix.
Yeah, exactly. The HeroClix version of the friendship bracelet is we practiced together and we got T-shirts or we got hats or we did some. Who cares? Don't get angry about that. The subsection of people who are over here being angry are so hilarious. It's just like, why are you have no reason to be angry? Yes, I'm yelling at you. You specifically. I'm actually pointing at like nothing over there. I'm just pointing at the imaginary internet people. We need news because otherwise I rant.
Yeah, it's a little dry right now. Considering what the next set's October and we know nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. We don't even have a movie set coming around the corner, like, or no turtles coming around the corner.
Yeah, we don't have any more. We don't even have a DC set confirmed. We have, as far as we know, there's no more DC HeroClix ever.
All we have is 6 wanted posters and a Tri-Sentinel around the corner. And I don't even know what the Tri-Sentinel looks like as far as a dial is concerned. So
there was one picture from the fan presentation. It was really fuzzy. It's basically, yeah.
There's a handy cam photo of it out there somewhere. A shaky cam.
It's basically retaliation. It's retaliation pulse wave.
Neat. I mean,
it's a thing that will exist. A handful of people will have them before it goes retail.
Yeah, because eventually it's going to go retail too. What is it, like the new year it goes retail?
Yeah, basically. I don't know.
Well,
yeah, we have to see the set, and there's a 50-50 chance that Battle World isn't even legal for the Rock World Cup because of when it comes out. So, like, we don't know. As far as we know, everything can be out for the World Cup. So,
do we know? Do we have a location on the Rock World Cup? That might be something we're talking about.
The hotel information wasn't released yet, but it's supposed to be at Lucky Dice, as far as I know.
Okay, so it's still being run at Lucky Dice down in Alabama. All right, cool. I'm going to double check, see what the weekend is on that one, because I'm convinced myself I'm definitely not going to be able to make it.
19th to 21st of October.
Yeah, no, not a chance. It's the week before. No,
week before release for you. No.
Yeah.
They said they were going to do an announcement of. Let me pull it up just because I can't remember. They said like they were going to do the judge points, the player points, the location, like the hotel, like all that stuff. But it hasn't happened yet, so it'll probably happen tomorrow or the day after we have our show. But
yeah. You know, that we're trying to hit that cycle where it's like news is coming out the day after our show. It's like, guys, we're here. Let us know.
Although Howard, he did also mention this.
Journalists.
Howard also said he's gonna be
on quotes on that one.
What did he say? He's gonna be on the next episode of Clixed Off, so that'll be good to get some information from. But we're high and dry over here.
I mean, what can you do? We're not. I mean, it's not one of the big things is I don't have the time to pursue HeroClix news right now, and get Rock Cup specific information. So could check out this is the Clixed Off guys.
Yes, they're.
I just want to mention. I get Critical Clix and Clixed Off mixed up all the time because they're both like kind of angry. Like Clixed Off sounds like I am Clixed Off, and Critical Clix, well, it had Kevin and Scott on it, so two guys, Kevin, two boneheads yelling at each other. Very skilled boneheads, and Scott is at least somewhat attractive. You see, you got to be careful, Jay, because if you say Scott's unattractive, you're calling me unattractive.
I was going to say Kevin is a very good-looking man, so.
Sure, I mean on the Bigfoot scale, which I can relate to, yeah.
On the Jewish Middle Eastern scale, yeah.
Oh, you got Rachel with that. You see, I just went with body hair.
It all ties in.
It's a common thread me and him share, and by thread I mean rope that you could braid out of our chests. Amber's in the back like, what is going on here? She's got half of a conversation and it's my half, which is always the weird half. All right. One thing I do want to mention is there's a very good chance I'm going to be on the road this weekend to go to my local Days of Future Past event. I am breaking Amber over here, apparently. She's squeaking in the background while she's on her bike while I'm trying to run a show.
I thought that was the bike.
No, it's the little squirrel riding the bike. So yeah, I'm going to be on the road this weekend to my Days of Future Past event. It gives us time to do our new Move and Attack show, and we still have the form available. So if you want to check it out down below in the description, we have a link to it. The form is, unless you actually put your name in the response, it is 100% anonymous. I just actually discovered that. So I'm going to show you guys, because last week I did a thing where I went and put my own question in there to show people how very easy it is to put in a question for the show. And today I went and looked at it, and I also realized that it didn't tell me who put that question in. So I'm just going to quickly show what I see, because I put in the question, why is Jason so beautiful? I don't know who asked that question, except for the fact that I asked that question. That's how I know. So if you're worried about anonymity or me name dropping you, or you don't want your name on the show, I don't know your name. So I thought that was a thing worth mentioning. It's just we're not getting very many questions for it. And we need to mount up these questions so that we get them, so that when we do kind of pick up and go, we have that to do. Because we have, a couple weeks of Days of Future Past ahead of us that I'm hoping to be able to get out to these events. And then we also have Worlds coming up. So if I have a bunch of questions loaded up for that, that would be super fantastic as well. So by all means, guys, just throw those questions in. The link's below the Google form. We'll collect those and we'll ask we'll get a couple of them answered on the road to Days of Future Past. It'll probably be obnoxious to Aiden because that's mostly street driving. It's not highway driving like some of the other events. Also want to take a second to plug our Patreon, patreon.com/MavericKlicks. We had our patron hangout last night. It was a lot of fun. We had Braden show up this weekend, one of our newer patrons, and he had a blast on the patron hangout. It was a good time. And, if you want to be a part of that patron hangout, any valuation gets you on that as well. Any valuation gets you in on the patron Discord. And, that's as small as $1. $1 a month. We appreciate the help. And at higher values, you can get things like our action tokens. Just went out our May and June ones. At the end of this month, we're going to get our July and August ones made. Just come on, give me a little love here. The folks over at Big Bully Games do fantastic work on design work for these. So it says you're a patron, the month and year that you're a patron, and then are Married with Clicks logo on that. So these are the May and June ones, which just went out. We try to get those out every 2 months. And of course, if you're a $5 patron, you get early access to our videos. We actually just put up 2 videos today that our patrons are the only ones that are able to watch so far. Those should be out tomorrow. But they also get a downloadable version at the $5 level as well. To the point where we actually had to pay for Google Drive space. My goodness, never thought I'd have to see the day. Because Google gives you so much space for free. Anyway, So I'll just take a second to share that with you guys as I load up our questions, because that was this week in HeroClix, man. There's not a whole lot going on. It doesn't help that we're not out there in HeroClix and whatnot. There's a lot going on south of the border.
It's too bad there was no WizKid stuff actually happening at Gen Con this year, because last year it was pretty big.
Yeah, Gen Con was a lot more rock events, and they're all very small. I think they're limited to 12 people per event.
Yeah, it was pretty small.
There's some really good players in there. I mean, PJ was there, Sam Powell was there, Dan Powell was there. So those are not pushover players. It would have been a heck of a challenge to get through in a 12-player environment. So kudos to everybody who went out there and had a lot of fun playing HeroClix.
I hope to get out there one time eventually, maybe.
Yeah. It's weird because I feel like I have been to Gen Con, but that was back when board gaming wasn't quite as popular, and it was more of a glorified Magic versus Yu-Gi-Oh! Hole to play in. And, HeroClix hadn't quite picked up when I went. I was on the Versus System circuit at the time. HeroClix was probably at his peak around the time Versus System was out, now I think about it. But I wasn't playing competitive HeroClix. I was trying to play competitive Versus because I was attracted to the money. And the money.
Yeah, what was the last year we actually had Worlds there when Pat won for the first time? 2014, I think?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's been a while since WizKids has had a presence there. My understanding, though, is there was an issue with the crowd that they would attract in their booth, and lineups would block.
Oh, yeah, lineups were just a nightmare.
I heard it was a bit of a pain in the butt for them. So I'm hoping, like, PAX Unplugged sounds like a heck of an event. Sounds like it's not going to be too crazy because of the time of year it's in. So it should just attract the right amount of crowd and the right amount of people that is not, it doesn't feel claustrophobic, which I think is a bonus more than anything. It's not a kind of convention that's going to attract a massive crowd like Gen Con would. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the actual numbers end up being.
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to the event. I love HeroClix.
Yeah.
It's a fun old game. All right. All right. So we're going into the Facebook questions. The first question we have here is KJ Foster. They all kind of got asked at the same time. Keeping it simple, what are counters to the Blackbird teams, more notably multiple Wolverine teams? Plethoras of attacks is my understanding. So if you can, as an example, get a Groot counterattack followed by a Walking Wood flurry, you can probably do enough damage to one thing and kill a Wolverine with that sort of output. And multiple attacks in large numbers is really the strongest counter. It's why I say oftentimes it's like this is the flurry meta, because you got to attack multiple times in order to make it. A lot of people go straight to Mangog, but the problem with Mangog is that who's piloting the Blackbird 9 times out of 10 is Cyclops, who will just obliterate Mangog. So
right, but Mangog also kills everything on that team except for the pilot. So
if he gets to Colossal Retaliate,
that is an if, and it's not going to happen if the Blackbird is being piloted right. It is not. I am telling you, I played the team. It has full map swing. PJ's written about the full map swing. Unless you're somehow managed to win map and go to an indoor or whatever and can't be shot by Cyclops. But then you're playing, you could.
The team itself does have a lot of problems with tanks because the tanks move it. And this is a team that requires formation. So
especially because that puts Cyclops on Mastermind, assuming they're playing a main force one at that point. So yeah. You can do some cool stuff. Like if you manage to do like a Wolverine flurry tank with the first attack and then like attack again after, you just kill something and disrupt their formation kind of thing. Like there's some stuff you can do.
Yeah.
If a team is unbeatable in HeroClix, it's
on the watch list.
It's not a balanced environment. There's never a healthy environment where something doesn't lose. That's not how it works. Yeah. So
heck, even Star Fox does a number on that team if he can get Mjolnir.
That is an if.
If you look back on Abdul's team from U.S. Nationals, where he had somebody else had other teams had 8 Batman go and pick up the
I mean, Abdul did have that. I don't know about other people.
Did he use that? Yeah, I
did.
don't remember if anybody else. Yeah, so he would use the 8 Batman to walk up, grab Mjolnir, walk back, and then sidestep over Star Fox and just drop it on his square. So I've
maintain immunity, but also, even regardless of all that, Star Fox almost has the best chance because, like, you can kill him, but he can roll super sensitive on a 6. So, and you can also position so he can't be knocked back. Like, there's things you can do. The team is very much out there. The surprise factor of what the heck the team can do was a big thing, in my opinion. So now that it's out, I mean, people are building within mind. So
yeah, or it's also a team because it works together. There's already a lot of group management tactics that exist. You just gotta know which one's going to work for your team, right? One big factor, Surtur does a heck of a that kind of damage that Surtur's output has is huge. He doesn't necessarily completely answer, but he puts enough damage into the entirety of the team and he can kill one Wolverine in a single go. And I've invested 25 points to kill 50. You do have to do a lot of point trading and point management. This is a matter where you have to do that, where you have to trade intelligently. I mean, that's always the case in HeroClix, but now more than ever, you have to trade intelligently.
You're also the Blackbird. Although the +2 stat Cyclops is a threat, if you can deal with that can help. Like, let's say you kill the Blackbird with a character that poofs, so you at least prevent the revenge attack. That, I mean, cuts his damage output in half. So, and it's only a 5 click, 16 defense to start. So, and if you lose Blackbird, you don't have anything for it. Like, you don't get the resource, whatever. So,
the Blackbird is also played at a very low point value, which means it doesn't have much of a dial. I think it's got 6 clicks? 5 clicks. So it's very, very easy to take out, and that completely obliterates any mobility that the team has.
Yeah, as opposed to the Y Live version, which is just, a 25-point taxi, instead of investing all your taxi and your resource in the Blackbird. And also, if you hit it for 2, it goes to 0 movement. So
so there's a lot of things you can do to this team that absolutely deal with it, and it's not like these solves all. It's tough to deal with when a smart player is piloting it, as I discovered with Kenji. If there's an intelligent person behind the wheel, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than you want it to be. At the same time, it's fairly manageable to deal with.
I wonder if now that people know how short the dial is, it's just if it might be smarter to switch to 100 points, because that's a long dial.
It's a matter of what do you lose when you go to 100 points? Like you
lose 40 points. It's not the absolute worst, but if you lose a Wolverine, it's not the end of the world.
I feel like the extra Wolverine is kind of important. It's kind of a threat factor.
I played a variant that had a different character instead of the Wolverine. Like, the Wolverine doesn't attack as much as you think on that team.
I played against a variant that had a Shadow Cat, and that gave extra defense and attack.
Right. I switched to the Angel because various reasons, but also he can call on the genes if the bird. Oh, that's also another thing. If they have 60-point call-ins and they only have the bird to resource them in, those call-ins become useless. So
kill the bird.
You generally want to kill the bird.
It's such a wide target too. Like, one of the things to deal with the Blackbird that doesn't work as well against the non-Blackbird variant of the X-Men team, the Lila Cheney version, is mobility and in certain maps. Like, inside of the underground cavern, there's only a select number of places that thing can go.
Yeah.
You are very limited on where you can place that vehicle in that map.
Yeah, well, plus you want that map in general because it helps stop the across the map Cyclops, which is why you like a mock time with that team. So
yep, yeah. I mean, you have to this is a team that has a +6 to +8 depending on the variation of it. So
yeah, I was playing
to get that that map roll on it. You do have to play a sizable team yourself. So
you could get lucky. You don't have to have a plus whatever. They could just roll low, but
I had a +7 monster team, and I mostly beat. Like I don't think I haven't lost any map rolls with that team so far.
I'd be surprised if you did.
Yeah, I mean, but there's been times where it's like, well, we have a close call where it's been like you get +6 while I get +7, so I technically only got a +1 on their dice roll.
Yeah,
which means even though the dice roll is still in my favor, it's still
if it's
losable.
a 60-40, you can still very much lose it.
Like,
so.
And I go back to my old police team that I had, where it's like, yeah, I got a +4 theme. When am I ever going to lose map? Just about every time where that's going to make a big difference, apparently. So
yeah, I mean, I've played arcade, and I remember losing map over 50% of the time. So
I mean, to get the proper variation, you probably have to play about 3,000 games with it. There's not that much time in your life, I hope. Otherwise, Jason, otherwise, Jay, we need to have an intervention.
There's definitely ways to burn the Blackbird. It's there. I mean, it's out there. We know what it looks like, what it does. You can build.
And it's got a fat butt, which makes it easy to target.
Although it's always worth mentioning that you don't just counter build one team, as always.
But sometimes the counter build for one team is enough to kill everything else. Like, I mean,
if you can deal with
in the team base meta, if you could kill a team base, you were fine. You were mostly fine. You would just have to deal with other things that were capable of killing team bases. So this is that kind of thing where it's like, if you can deal with the Blackbird, you've also got a lot of tools that deal with a lot of other teams, right? So, all right. But what Jay was getting at is don't just base your team around group attacks, because if you come against a Unimind, well, congratulations, you might do a couple damage to Lockjaw.
Yeah, you are not pinging down Lockjaw and killing Unimind all at once. No.
Although I got very close in one of my games. I had him down to like 3 clicks, and I think with a little bit more time, I had that Lockjaw dead.
Yeah, the people aren't really playing that as much, I'm noticing. Like, even Dan Powell's been trying some other stuff.
I mean, Lockjaw is part of the current version of Don't Die Tech.
Yeah.
It's hard to kill. And he's got that one click where it's like, well, I'm just going to heal. So
yeah.
All right. Wow. You know what? That's one of the things about having not much to talk about. Is you get a lot of time to deal with it. And Happy Little Hero Clicks does mention oftentimes whenever we talk about the Mangog is using that Green Lantern that can bring characters back. It's a risky strategy because now you're telling me you're hedging your bets on Mangog. Okay. I've dealt with that particular strategy before. It's manageable in a lot of degrees. It might answer the X-Men, but there's a lot of other teams that will just be able to, in a single turn, deal with both.
Yeah, that Green Lantern's also insanely killable these days. So
any day, because I think was she 4 clicks?
4 clicks, 18 willpower to start.
And it's like 45 points.
Yeah.
So you're investing 75 points in Mangog.
I think you're just better off playing Cosmic Theme with him.
Yeah. I mean, the Cosmic Theme works, and there's a lot of things. You can also double up with a group who also does a lot of answers to the X-Men team. So you got double answer. They're going to go for Mangog. You counterattack with a group. You know,
yeah, and plus the fact that the team, they don't have Outwit on the team unless you give them a Leslie, and vehicles don't ignore characters anymore. So plasticity actually matters. So
absolutely. So
yeah, people still forget. I've seen people forget that vehicles don't ignore characters anymore. So
they don't ignore characters; they break away automatically, which is worthless against plasticity.
Yeah, exactly.
You do still have to stop adjacent to a character, and plasticity will just. Okay, well, let's wrap my Walking Woods around your Blackbird. Where do you think you're going?
It'll be interesting to see your team against a Blackbird. I don't think it's happened yet, though.
I won against a Blackbird in the
finals. I wasn't thinking Cecil's Shadowcat variant, which I don't think is.
I mean, the only reason he played the Shadowcat variant is he didn't have 2 Wolverines, and like he only had 4 ID cards.
There's a lot of stuff in that team which I think seems to be suboptimal, just based on situation of the player, but like. Yeah.
All right. Next up, Michael Fedor, who was on our Patreon Hangout because he is the Alpha Patron. He is the man who's been a patron since the beginning. He's part of the Alpha Club, as it were. That's a little bit of pro wrestling ideas for those hardcore pro wrestling fans. So he's about 5 minutes after we closed up the patron chat with you. I thought about another good question. Should I use a similar strategy against the Blackbird as I would against the Avengers Quinjet? Seems like both function similarly. Am I correct in that? While functions seem similar, they work very differently. And honestly, the strategy with the Quinjet was kill everything and then try to deal with the Quinjet. And in this case, it's kill the Blackbird and then kill everything else, because then everything else can't move. It's actually vastly the opposite.
Yeah, well, just the builds function so differently. Like the Quinjet kind of was more of a ramp up, but had the free action. So like do an Ultron call in, roll the dial, move with the Quinjet, free action. Like it's not at all the same.
Yeah, no, it's vastly different.
And it's also like at this point, it was a choice what point you play the Quinjet at. Like I put it at 140, but add one with it at 70. But the Blackbird, nobody's really playing it of note that's not using the lowest. Well, so even that.
Like at Canadian Nationals, I saw a 100-point version. Right. I believe Jason locally was.
Yeah, Jason.
I didn't get a chance to see or play against it, so I don't know how my team was going.
Yeah, I can't remember how well he did.
But I mean, there's variations on it. That's a version where you kill everything else and then deal with the Blackbird later, because the Blackbird actually, because of it's so much slower than the Quinjet, you're going to be able to deal with it much faster and more elegantly than you would in the classic version where it was Quinjet. Well, it's got 14 clicks that I got to deal with. How do I deal with this? I mean, it's 14 clicks that you couldn't penetrate. Like you couldn't deal penetrating damage to the Quinjet. Nope. So it was like, how do I deal with that? And then eventually he calls in a Nick Fury. He's like, oh, that's going to kill like my most important figure. All right. So the
and also
Blackbird like, have that kind of thing, except for maybe some Cyclops call-ins. I think you can pull off of that.
Yeah, the teams are just so different. It's not really a one-for-one comparison. Like the fact, also the Quinjet was piloted by a real boy most of the time because it had autopilot, and the Blackbird, you put a real character in it. Like,
like you start the character. Well, I mean, there was multiple variations on with the Quinjet as well, because there's a lot of people using Jarvis to pilot it.
I never saw
Jarvis,
that.
I saw the Jarvis pilot. Yeah,
I saw Thug, but
I've seen Thug pilots. I've seen Jarvis pilots. I've also seen Tony Stark pilots, who's got who triggered both things. So
yeah,
an amazing pilot for it. So the long and short of your question is, you actually deal with it vastly differently with the traditional team. With the non-traditional bigger Blackbird, you would take the same approach, but you will find the same approach is actually a little bit more effective against it than it was against the Quinjet, just purely on pacing. But you do have to be able to kill the other things. In the 100-point version, I think it's going to have a couple Wolverines at minimum, because that'll be 200 points of your team with 205? 200, yeah. So be ready to kill Wolverines in that case, which is make 2 attacks. Sorry, 2 attacks that do 3 damage. I should be very specific about that, because some people's like, I attacked it twice for 1 damage. Why didn't it die? Well, okay, I screwed up on that one. That's my bad. My bad. Sorry, guys. Or there's another way. It was if you could get 2 damage on each of the Wolverines and then follow up with like a Surtur.
Yeah, if you could do 2 penetrating to each of them.
Yeah, like or 3 damage to each of them.
Yeah,
with producers, and then get a Surtur to follow up. They're just annihilated. It's just all gone.
What happened to the Canadian? His free healthcare didn't save him this time, I guess.
Or this conversation came up. There is one character who can completely ruin the meta if you can find a way to kill him. Have you heard about this, Jay?
Old Man Logan?
No, the Suicide Strife.
Oh, yeah, that tech is hilarious, but also just loses to non-theme teams. So
but it annihilates, absolutely obliterates the meta right now, because so many characters are not being played on their first click, and a lot of them are playing like more than half dial, and then the damage that he deals is not an attack. Wolverines, all of them dead.
Right, but he also keys off a name keyword, and like Sam exists, so it's a decent play. Like it probably be, let's say it be 60%, let's say 75% of the field being generous. Like that's still good, but like having zero good matchup against other stuff, I don't know.
It's all about that first round. If that first round
like
you're not against an X-Men team, you're doomed.
It's like pre-rules errata a grasshopper. Like you could play it and you can go to a roll-off, but like, do you want to?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're crazy and you want, like, it's actually more of a challenge to pull off because you've got to find a way to kill him on your own. Not your
I already know of a build that does that.
Well, me, Patrick, and Tiago hypothesized it when we had an episode together. Off air, we had like this big discussion about how we're going to make it work.
I'm pretty sure Tiago posted that build in a public Brazilian Facebook group.
We came up with some other. I mean, maybe did it have Howard the Duck on it?
I don't remember
because Howard the Duck was a key point to the strategy because he had to cancel Strife's vulnerable. And then Frogman knocks him off of a building, you see.
Howard is a mean-spirited individual, just like, screw you, Strife. Wow.
It's mostly a comedy build, and it's more of a puzzle challenge to do. And I challenge you as a player, if you're watching this, kill your own Strife. And then watch
I will bring that to the next competitive tournament that I play at if I can get enough practice with it.
You will get a high five from me, sir.
I mean, yeah, whatever next competitive tournament I play doesn't matter. So sure, I'll do it.
Because one thing it's also worth noting is that it's half of whatever their click number is, and half of is always rounded up, which means it's also going to obliterate bystanders off the board. Oh wait, are they going to be considered to be on click number 1? Do they not have click numbers? That's going to
matter because 0 point pog. Well, no. I mean, it almost doesn't matter because 0 point pogs being alive doesn't matter.
Well, in that case, then the entirety of the board does have to get cleared off. So there's some teams that can survive that.
Like a Mudman will survive that theoretically. Yeah. Actually, Mudman survives that either way.
It is penetrating damage, so characters with Invincible can. So, like, even a Goblin King will be able to survive it as long as they take Invincible.
There's two people that I know
King's on his last dial, right?
There's 2 people that I know of playing Goblin King, so sure. If I play against literally you, sure.
Invincible, what's up?
Oh my god!
And then my Dr. Frankensteins only take 1 each, you see, and then they heal each other.
And then they have 6 range, so they just can win.
Yeah, and the Carnage only takes half of his clicks, and I think it's like starts at click 11. So half of that would be 6. So I don't know if he has more than 6. I feel like his dial felt long at times because people did a lot of damage to him and he just wouldn't die.
Hold on. I'm pulling my Carnage out. So he starts on click 13? So
13, okay, so he takes 7.
He just lives.
Just lives. And then,
insane.
So then I can heal him, you see, with the Dr. Frankensteins as free actions, and they get +1 to their dice roll on the support.
So it cancels out, yeah.
So you see, my team can survive this.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's like one of those teams, like, you can win. I feel like you would go, like, 50-50 with that team. If not a little worse, depending on...
You'd go 50-50 in an environment where you know the Wolverine teams are going to show up in great numbers.
But you have to account for jank that's not themed.
You got to account for so much jank with that. Like, there's jank that's just going to beat you. And it's like, well, but at the same time, when you're playing the Strife strategy, you have to admit, you are also playing jank.
You're playing hilarious jank, but it is still jank.
But subsequently, you've now got to find a way to win with Strife.
I think you have to tweak it slightly so that you actually have the opportunity to play with like IDs. Like I think you can't just. I don't know what your current build with it is, but
there's room. Like, with Frogman, like 35 points.
Yeah.
And Howard the Duck, I think, is 45, so that's 80. That's my 215. I got room. I got room. All right. Stephen Clark Jr. has a bunch of questions. Wow, I should have actually kind of sped to this one. What do you think of the meta now? What do you think of the top 3 figures of the Batman animated chases? How do you pick the right maps to use in a tournament? Okay, well, this is actually going to be a little easier than I thought. With the new wanted poster IDs, what do you think are going to be the top 5 must-have IDs? Sorry for so many questions. Well, don't worry about so many questions, but a lot of these are going to be pretty easy because we've been answering them a lot. What do I think about the meta right now? I like it. It's not bad. There's a limited number of figures, but there's a lot of combinations with all the figures that you can use. That's kind of my take on it. What is your hot take on that, Jay?
The last time the meta was this healthy was post Super Skrull pre-Jakeem. So when Tom was winning with Devil Dinosaur.
I was contesting. I had a slightly different version of it, but I was
because you were playing like what? Mephisto, him, Ultrons, basically?
Ultrons, and yeah.
Okay.
Because I wanted the prop.
Oh man, it's too bad you couldn't TK him then. That would have been so ridiculous.
Oh yeah, right.
I played Tom's team in 2018, and it was insane. It was so fun.
All right, next up, what do you think? What are the top 3 of the Batman animated chases?
Firestorm, Flash, Wonder Woman?
I don't like Flash, personally.
I mean, I think Flash is up there, not necessarily.
Firestorm, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern are mine.
Firestorm #1 for sure. Like, no.
Firestorm beyond a shadow of a doubt, because he comes in with prob, and even if he takes the 1 damage, he's still got the +2 perplex, +2 -2 perplex.
Firestorm, Wonder Woman are definitely 2 of the 3, but yeah,
but
Flash is actually bad. Flash is actually bad right now because of all the sidestep.
Honestly, I personally, every time I played this team and I had the sideline that I had, Flash seemed like a good idea sometimes, and every time I looked at the Flash as a good idea, I went with Firestorm.
I think Batman is actually good. Like,
yes,
his utility is amazing. Like, just having Outwit and like, there's less Outwit right now. So like, you call him in with Outwit. You could, if you have enough actions, you could do his Smoke Cloud, set up Poison, and Outwit. Like,
I call Batman at number 4 because I had to deal with combat reflexes at one point.
Oh yeah, you did have to.
Combat reflexes was causing me to miss. So guess what? On the third miss on a second action with a flurry, I free action brought in a Batman. Batman outwitted the combat reflexes, so the next guy on the flurry was able to kill the character with combat reflexes. It comes in a clutch because what's great about Batman in that sense is that something is stopping you from hitting, and 9 times out of 10, Batman can stop that thing that's stopping you from hitting. Right? No, sorry. Yeah. 7 times out of 10. 7 times out of 10. There'll be perplexes that are out of his reach or unoutwittable or something like that. So do have to account for that.
Yeah, but essentially, yeah, Firestorm is universally good because prob. Also, his energy explosion is relevant because of all the swarminess.
We talked about the Wolverine teams, right?
Yeah. Wonder Woman is good, but like, although no, sorry, Wonder Woman is actually better than I would have said when she came out because of how leadership works now, and it's really weird how you can leadership in the middle of the turn now. So it can be like, haha, use up your 3 actions, missing all those attacks. But haha, I have a 4th because Wonder Woman popped in the middle of the turn. It is
no, you do have to start the turn with the character with leadership.
No, not for the action.
+1.
The action.
I'm pretty sure it says at the beginning of the turn, but
no, that's only for the roll. That's only for the roll now.
It says at the beginning of the turn you get the +1 or something to your action.
They changed it slightly in the updated pack.
Amber, could you give me my new pack, please? It's upstairs. It's in my play kit.
Let me grab mine. 1 second.
We're getting packs now because we've got to solve an argument. Because this is the kind of time we have on these kinds of episodes. Sorry, I was just a little bit of silence there as Jay is grabbing his thing.
Okay, so leadership now reads, for all friendly characters that can use leadership, action total +1, hyphens, at the beginning of your turn, roll the d6, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so they changed it.
They did, yeah.
Because previously it was at the start of the turn.
No, yeah, you were previously right. The leadership thing is basically the most relevant pack change, and only relevant powers and abilities change.
Fair enough.
So,
okay. But I mean, yeah. Most of the time is, but the other thing to make your argument completely worthless anyway is you've already got the leadership if you're making that many attacks.
Well, no, you could just miss 3 attacks, or like on your team, do you have leadership built?
My team is more the exception. My team had leadership with 2 Groots.
Right.
So like Walking Woods the source is Groot, so I got leadership on that team, right?
True.
And if you're making enough attacks at 3 attacks, okay, 3 attacks missed.
Right, but you can have a
probably got
Wolverine.
leadership there where you're just throwing attacks, right?
You could
If
also
you got a Wolverine, you got leadership on your team already.
Right, that's true. Forgot about that part.
So your argument's useless. The entire argument was worthless because there's too many sources of leadership as it stands.
Yeah, it's too easy to get leadership now, and leadership is too good. But either way, Wonder Woman is up there. I think we agree on that.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. She's neat because her effect is so great. I think it's like charge and 3 damage with attacks that she got. I mean, I'd take her over Superman in any case because Superman has not done nothing but let me down in 100% of attempts that I use him, which is 1.
Yeah, Superman is just like Wonder Woman, but worse in every way.
Well, there is one way where he's more useful, and it's dealing with stealth.
Right, but it also depends on your build and how many spots you have. Like, on your team, Superman could fit, but, like, on most other teams, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're talking about the top 3, Superman isn't even in the question. If you have no sideline, Superman is a question. In fact, if you have no sideline and you have all of these available to you, not likely, but if you have them all available to you, it comes down to choosing the 3 you won't choose. The Atom is the most likely to not be chosen by me ever.
I think he's more useful than Apache Chief most of the time.
Apache Chief adds his reach. And if
you can enough chuck that turn. Yeah.
Things by just growing. And he's got an 18 defense. Like, yeah,
I think
in general. So, like, if you're making a close combat attack against the Atom, because guess what? The Atom charged you anyway.
Yeah.
Because he's got charged Battle Fury.
Yeah.
He's a 17 defense with super senses, whereas he's an 18 defense with toughness. He's more likely to survive some things and less likely to get hit in more cases, right?
Yeah. None of them are really useless. Like, even Aquaman comes in with Empower. Because what? He makes 3 fish for free?
He makes 3. He makes 3 fish as a power action. He makes another fish for free in water. He can create the water for free. He can create 4 fish, and he can attack 4 times for 1 action.
And they have, 1 damage autonomous. He has Empower, so that's sure.
That's 2 damage autonomous.
One of them might hit. You never know.
And if they hit a tiny guy, guess what? They have Force Blast.
Which is going to matter all the time, yeah.
It's going to matter against other tinies. You know what?
Or you have Wasp. If you have Total Wasp, that could be really good.
An average fish brought out by an Aquaman kills an Atom. No, it doesn't, because Atom has charge.
But yeah, none of them are useless. It's
correction. The first fish that hits him basically causes his death.
True. That's a weird dial for Atom. What the hell were they thinking?
And if you have Empower locally, Hawkgirl isn't bad, but I feel like she's on the cutting room floor for my I've now, after my friend brings it on Thursday, I will now have in my possession all 12 of the chases. So it's now a matter of, if I was to continue using my monster team, which 3 am I not going to use? Robin and Atom are definitely off the build. Robin is, his Perplex is great, don't get me wrong, but it's too much of a liability.
It's too little too late by the time you've already missed 3 attacks.
Yes. I needed that Perplex turn ago. And the Firestorm is always the first call.
I think on your build, I don't see why you would want Hawkgirl, because you don't even have Empower for the bird.
Sure, unless you pick it with I have every power in the world, and I chose Empower plenty of times.
You did
with what's his name? Well, because here's the thing:
do you have woods?
Colossal attack. Well, for one, I have all the wood, and so when somebody comes in on me, I've got lots of room to work with. In addition to which, don't forget, Colossal Retaliations are still close combat attacks.
Yeah, right? And none of them use a set number of damage anymore.
Exactly, and all the Colossal Retaliations I'm using are using the characters' damage themselves. So if I go Perplex, or if I go Empower Prob with the Goblin King, I move him next to some Walking Woods. I've got Walking Woods who are doing 4 damage each, and a Colossal Retaliator who's about to do a ton of damage. If it's Surtur, that's 4 damage with a 12 attack before I've even accounted for Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, so all that in mind, who's your last one that you don't pick?
This is the hard part. I am between Hawkman and actually it's very likely to be. I'm between Hawkman and Hawkgirl when it comes actually Hawkman and Apache Chief. Because don't get me wrong, I have no problem with Apache Chief, but for my team does what Apache Chief already does: reach over characters, like line of fire.
I don't see Apache Chief really making or breaking your team.
Yeah, like he doesn't do enough for my team to make me say, "Yeah, I need Apache Chief. Apache Chief is the guy." So I think he'd probably lose the cut. Hawkman has an ability that can be super useful. Just handing out action tokens to a bunch of people. It's the same kind of effect that Wonder Woman has. Both of them are good. I'd probably bring out Wonder Woman before I bring a Hawkman, but in some games I'll be able to bring out both. It's nonsense. So
yeah, I mean, also Hawkman, if you're empowered from Goblin King, can just kill the Blackbird. So his damage value is actually kind of the best because of his close combat expert. So he's not useless either.
Yeah. All right. So somebody just, hopefully he's watching. An Eric Atkinson just put a post under our link, and he wants us to promote a Rock Super Q at the book stand. I'm wondering if that's a book stand in Beaumont, Texas. If you have any more information, or just Google Maps that place, check it out. It's apparently this weekend. I have no details on it, so good luck if you're running that or if you're going to that. Beaumont, Texas is where it's at. Super qualifier. Give us something to talk about. Play something weird. Play something weird so I can spend an entire episode talking about that instead of spending my time talking about Gotham City and Gotham Underworld, because they're viable now. Okay, guys, they're viable. Gotham City's viable because you can do disgusting things with Green Arrow. All right.
Is that for the Facebook questions?
No, we're still going through this one because we're on the second part of Stephen Clark Jr.'s question.
Oh boy.
Spent all that time on Super Friends. How do you pick the right maps to use in a tournament? Okay. This discussion came up yesterday in the Patreon Hangout, and my best way to describe it is there are multiple maps, 3 maps right now in the current environment that have extremes. Look at those extremes and what would those extremes do for you. If you don't need the extremes, look for something in an extreme that will mess with another team that you can still work around. Or if you're looking at things, you want to make a bunch of bystander tokens, you use the Penguin Lounge, and make sure you got a Penguin on your team.
That's another factor now with all those map bonuses. Some of those are character specific, but some of them are just general.
Some of them are character specific, some of them are not so specific. Like the Hacienda, you kind of need a Joker and Harley Quinn to work off of that. I think the Penguin Lounge works best if you're using a Penguin, so those kind of factor into that matter. You can still use the Penguin Lounge for 5 points and still get 2 of the bystander tokens, I think it is. 2 of the seals. Because you're using seals. Oh my gosh, you're using them. Have you seen what the seal does?
Was that the Force Blast one?
No, that's the 3 damage, super senses, and some other avoidance or maybe plasticity.
I haven't had a chance to look at the maps.
I think they do 3 damage. That's the important part.
I think the overall philosophy, I think PJ said it previously on the show, but you basically want like an indoor, like a super blocky, whatever, kind of like the Star Trek. You want an open and you want kind of a random wild card kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of orange text now. Like if you want really weird hindering, you can go for Wakanda, or you could go for the rock zip line if you're playing a rock event for the weird zip lines. Like there's a lot of wild card kind of maps you could do now.
There's plasticity and super senses, and it's a 10 attack with 3 damage on the seal.
Holy hell! But yeah, if you want just indoor, outdoor, you can just literally use both sides of the Star Trek map. Like Amok Time is the most open you can get.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are 2 extremes. The underground cavern is so much blocking terrain and so many tight quarters that if you can abuse that, use it. Amok Time is so wide open that if you have like a 9-10 range character or the ability to get tons of range, the second your opponent crosses a certain line, they're done for, obliterated on that map.
Yeah, I had to look at the but now that Rocktober is the thing, I had to look and compare Rock Underground to WizKids Underground Caverns and see which is better. Because one of those maps came out than the other, so
yeah, but that'll be specific for Rock events, of course.
Yes, of course, specifically because Rocktober is a thing.
Yeah. So that's another thing you have to factor in is if you've won rock maps and you're going to a rock event, you have to factor that in and be aware.
There's so many because they're doing monthlies now that you can buy. They have every quarter. Like, do you want that crazy water map for King Shark? That's a thing you want to play at the Rock. So a lot of random things to consider.
And with the new wanted poster IDs, what do you think are the top 5 must-have IDs? I think it's the 5 wanted posters that aren't Sprite or aren't Shadowcat.
I mean, yeah, giving exploit isn't useless, but it's not useful.
It's the call-ins that are the problem, I think, in her case.
I mean, yeah, you can get
the 65-point version, but again, on the X-Men team that you're using that. Okay, so on an X-Men team, sorry, I'm somehow focused on an X-Men team. I personally wouldn't use her, but on other teams, maybe the 75-point Shadowcat call-in's not terrible. I'm talking about the con exclusive one, of course. I tried it.
On the Blackbird, it seems fine. If you can roll up to 80.
There you go. If you can get there. That was another problem with Cecil's team is like one of his big things was the 100-point all new Wolverine. It's like, okay.
Yeah, good luck.
Let's try to kill that before you get there, or just not let you get there. Anyway, but that's the thing is those 5 wanted posters are so hard to score off of because the second they make an attack that hits, they're gone. They disappear. They didn't get to do any damage. You didn't get to do anything because immediately they gone.
Yeah.
Suddenly sounded like Edward Sheldon. He does that a lot too. I'm a little bit of gimmick infringement. I apologize, Edward.
But the inspirations are insanely good.
Yep, that's another thing. Like
give charge to your Mjolnir, Star Fox. Yes, please.
So, I mean, the only downside I'd say to the Colossus is he is harder to call in right now because the best you can get is 80 points.
80 at the lowest. Absolute option. It's not the best.
Yeah, and that's dangerous.
Right. I mean, unless you have the action, just walk him off the map.
Yeah.
All the inspirations are really good. They're all good.
In addition to these wanted posters of the same name, ID cards of the same name will also be good. So like your Wolverine wanted poster and the Wolverine ID, both of them on your team. There you go, and you got to get 2 Wolverines for that.
Yeah, I think you're looking at, as far as what did he ask for, top 5?
Yeah, top 5. That's why I said the 5 wanted posters that aren't Shadowcat.
I don't necessarily. I think there are still other ones that are good. I would probably say like Wolverine, Cyclops, Professor X. Depends on taste. Oh shoot, you're right.
See.
So wait, so there's dual Cyclops
challenge, and that's why I say the 5 wanted posters.
We have dupes from different sources now because we have 3 sources of ID cards. That's insane.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of look at it and say the wanted posters are by far the best because it's darn near impossible to kill those 5 guys. And that's not to take away from the fact that there's a lot of good IDs still, but those 5 sit at that point where it's like, well, I can safely play these and not worry about getting scored on. It's actually making me reconsider the monster team because the monster team currently has a rate of murder that sits in like the thousands of points just in ID card characters. Like I have most of my points scored are from killing ID cards.
I mean, it also makes it kind of better. Like Carnage can risk-free call on whatever because, like, yeah.
I'm not giving. I mean, but at the same time, so often I look at that and go, there are so few call-ins that I want to make over 3 attacks at 4 damage, and that's just Carnage's base stats. If I increase them with my what's this called, Dr. Frankenstein's, right?
Yeah.
So
wow.
So many people are like, well, why don't you use an ID card call-in? Well, why do I have to worry about it when I'm about to make 3 attacks? And I got a bystander call-in on top of that.
Yeah.
So that's always it's a conversation that frequently comes up for me. It's like, why don't you use the ID cards? You don't need it. I also have Super Friends. What if it fails? Super Friends. I pressed the trouble alert button. That's
Super Friends have been really fun in that, like, you can roll a crit miss and like, do I let it happen, or even does your opponent let it happen?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the whole KC's thing, where like if you play KC and they crit hit, it's like, oh my god, do I prop my own crit hit? Or like,
just a warning to everybody who is using the trouble alert The character does have to survive the critical miss because the character making the critical miss has to take a free action to do the trouble or call it.
Yeah, so Pogs are like wah wah.
Yeah, Pogs like let them critical miss. It's like, haha, you can't call them in with that. Okay, but that's still one miss.
Yeah.
All right.
Fun stuff.
So yeah, my argument is that the 5 not Shadowcat wanted IDs will be the best, simply on the fact that the functionality has no risk on it. That's my call. What do you want to? What would your top 5 be?
I mean, taking that into account, I mean, definitely, I think both Wolverines deserve mentions. I think the healing
Wolverine is still hard to kill.
Yeah, so Wolverine, at least one of the. I mean, I want to see Student Cyclops because the Force Blast almost never comes up, but like probably Student Cyclops. Magneto, the inspiration's good. Yeah, it's weird because the inspirations on the Magneto and the Colossus are good, but hard to pull off. But the Marvel Girl new one, or sorry, the Rachel Summers that turns into Marvel Girl, so you can call her in, TK them out, and then running shot is really good. So what's that? That's Wolverine, Cyclops, her. Professor X, like between the two rares, like they do so much stuff. Like they can wreck your formations. They can tank without line of fire, make 3 Pogs, 2 to 3 Retaliators, I think. So yeah, that's my 5.
All right. We're now in the Facebook chat. First one, Nolan Lake. If you were to design,
oh no!
Do you know how long game design takes, kids? If you were to design Incredibles Trouble Alert like characters, Trouble Alert like characters, what powers and weaknesses would you give them each? Would Frozone's weakness be not finding his super suit toughness? Oh, all right. Well, you answered that one, all right. Let's see if I can walk through this quickly. Jack's is going to be leadership because that's parenting, and so he's going to be weak against parents. Was it Mr. Incredible is going to be weak against smart people, so outwit. Elastigirl is going to be weak against
cold. Cold because of how elastic stuff works.
Yeah, we'll say cold because they did freeze her in the spoiler alert new movie, so we'll go incapacitate.
I actually didn't even think of that. I was just thinking in general.
Way to go, buddy. Way to spoil it for everybody there, Jay.
I didn't.
So Dash would be
water.
Was that
water?
Ran on water.
But then he fell through the water.
He's fine in water. He's perfectly fine in water. Barrier. Yeah, there it is. Amber's got it. Barrier.
Oh, yeah.
Because Violet gets on him all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
And how do you represent boys? Shape change? Violet's? Yeah, shape change. Shape change is a good one. She gets tricked a lot. There we go.
I mean, there's also just like HeroClix characters who get shape change because they're attractive, like Starfire.
Actually, no, shape change would be Edna Modes. She doesn't like you changing your clothes.
She doesn't like capes, so it would be
no capes. And then all of a sudden,
no capes. So characters that have the flight ability through like actually having the flight ability. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but shape change is probably good for Violet. All right.
I don't know.
And then as far as okay, Mr. Incredible has super strength and charge. Elastigirl has plasticity, super senses, and shape change.
That's just hypersonic.
Violet has stealth, barrier, and barrier. And Dash has hypersonic and super senses, combat reflexes.
And Jack would be like crazy.
Jack has shape change, outwit, combat reflexes, flurry, invulnerable.
I think that's a random dial that you roll for.
Sure. Slow the game down. That's what he has. All right. All right. So I think this question gets asked multiple times, but Sehui asks, do you think we'll get movie sets back with the recent Target news with NECA? What is the Target news with NECA?
I know they're adding like a toy section or something, but from what I've read, it's a fact that it won't because I mean, I'm sure movie licensing and actor stuff is a pain in the butt to get, but also because the company that stocked the HeroClix whatever in Target is a separate company, like they're a sub whatever. So doesn't seem like it.
NECA's horror toys are now being stocked at Target. I mean, that's
I mean, there was also there was already the whole fiasco where the Wonder Woman stuff never came out. Yondu never really came out. Like, nobody's going to actually want to. Like, it was bad PR.
Always read deep into the article, guys, because, like, a while back, WizKids made a deal with Wizards of the Coast. And people were like, oh, that means magic hero clicks. It meant nothing of that. What it meant was because WizKids works with Wizards of the Coast on Dungeons and Dragons stuff, the reason they had to talk to them about Magic the Gathering is that Dungeons and Dragons recently released modules that happen in the world of Ravnica, which is a world of Magic the Gathering, and that means they needed to make miniatures for Dungeons and Dragons because that's what they do with Wizards of the Coast already. So, gotta hold your patience. Don't be when you hear this kind of news and this like mergers and deals and stuff like. Just calm down. You don't jump on things. And we already know right now NECA's horror toys are coming to Target. Cool. That means It and Friday the 13th and Amber's Squeaky Noises are going to be part of the deal. So it's kind of a gut reaction to go, yes, we're getting movie sets back. No, it means none of that. Collectibles are run by a separate contract altogether. And like Jay said, movie sets are not easy to make. I said it on Move and Attack recently. I don't know which one we talked about it. But when you make a movie set, you have to deal with likeness rights. And likeness rights are not an easy thing to deal with. As when I worked at Games Workshop, we had just released the Lord of the Rings game based on the movies. And apparently Liv Tyler was not easy to make a figure for. So.
But let me got the Liv Tyler and HeroClix. Interesting. Whatever.
They probably send her the 3D model. The 3D mock-up, which probably, you know what I mean?
People assume we're way overqualified for the questions that we get asked.
Well, you know, some of us have insights that can be used to kind of work our way through things. I don't pay attention to all of the news when it comes down to it. I pay attention strictly to HeroClix related. If NECA makes something up here, I wait till it's down here and says specifically HeroClix. Like, okay, what's up? That's when you have my attention. But when it's NECA makes a deal with Target, that's NECA is a big company making toys, and WizKids is a small part of a big toy company. So, Nolan Lake, how would you rate the usability of Bebop Run Rocksteady figures, especially the con-exclusive 9-click 125-point duo figure on an animal theme team? Competitive potential on an animal team? I've tried, Nolan. I've tried so hard to make that guy work. Ask Jay. Jay has shut down so many of my teams with Bebop and Rocksteady. He's like, come on, I can make it work.
I think the main problem is that when you're playing an animal team, there's already too many good other points you want to play. Like, you want to play Lockjaw. That's number one. And if you add Bebop Rocksteady, it's already 200. Yep. Or you want to play King Shark because King Shark is really good. So I just feel like it's outshone by stuff in the animal keyword, but on its own, it doesn't, like, no move and attack. If you want to mind control, you have to hit a high number because they get the +3 defense. They don't bust stealth. Like, they don't do anything really meta, unfortunately.
All right. I mean, you can make a team with it. It's just don't expect to be winning worlds with it, I think is what we're saying. That's one of those things I always got to remember. It's like, okay, hold on a second. You can make a good team, but you might not break the mold with it. You know what I mean? Actually, now that I think about it, the funny thing is the format for our Days of Future Past this weekend is bring 200 points, buy a pack, and then at minimum your team has to have 100 points from the pack on your team. I think we have to play a little bit of leeway on that one because you might get 95 or something about that.
Yeah, some packs you really like. If you get a Batman pack and get a suited henchman, that's 5 out of 100 that you have to add. Like, that's not.
Yeah, but there'll be I can't imagine a single pack. You'd be hard pressed to get a single pack that you couldn't get a minimum of 100 points out of.
I mean, it's theoretically possible.
Yeah, but the number of things that have to go bad in that instance, it's almost worth saying just give the guy another pack. I'd almost buy the guy a different pack just to make him feel better. It's like that would be ridiculous. The possibility
really funny.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, this set is interesting where it can happen. But yeah, it's so unlikely.
Yeah. The other thing too is you got a lot of sets to choose from in this case. Avengers Defenders War is one of the sets you could choose. Batman is one of them, I believe. They have a limited number of Batman packs, if I remember correctly. Harley Quinn? I don't remember what the other packs were.
Harley Quinn there is in stock.
There's stuff. There is stuff.
I don't actually think it's possible. I'm going through all the lowest options. Like I don't think it's actually possible.
Minimum 100 points at least. All right.
Yeah. Suited Henchman, Alfred, Bruce Wayne rare, and you still have another figure to fill in. It's not really possible.
A little bit of complaining about my ranting. Not actually complaining. You said Jason's ranting. Take cover. Choose a name keyword. That seems random. What's up with you, Chris Smotherman?
Does it have to be modern?
I don't know. You just said choose a named keyword.
I know.
Eternals. It's the first one that came to my mind. Word
Exiles.
There you go. Done. Amber cried a little on the inside. All right. Happy Little Clicks wants to know what formats you would like to see added to the WKO Rock events. I hate this. Sorry. I hate the idea of trying to decide on a format that isn't modern or golden age. Because those are the standard things.
I mean, wouldn't you just say Popper to begin with?
You could try Popper, but I don't. Because we're talking about the Rock, it's hard to just kind of say, yeah, definitely Popper for competitive play. And then what type of Popper? Is it modern Popper, golden Popper, or like Magic the Gathering runs? Because Magic the Gathering Popper is Legacy. I think
for HeroClix, you want to do modern to be as friendly to new players as possible.
What's that?
I think you want to go modern because it's more new player friendly.
Then you literally limit the actual collection available to 16 to 18 sets per figures per set.
Right, but
actually stagnates the format.
Unless you include starter and fast forces, which I think you can.
I mean, I don't disagree with that, but
I mean, then again,
all you do with each one is you add 6, right? I liked my event. Don't get me wrong, but I looked at it and I thought to myself, it is a very limited format when you strictly allow modern, right? There is a strict limitation, but at the same time, it's a limitation on figures you're not regularly able to use, and also the current modern common format might be dominated by Cable, Batman Beyond, or Joker's Wild Batman. Like those 3 are kind of standouts.
But do you allow uncommons? Like I think you.
No, absolutely not. Like you go Popper and you go all in. You go all in golden, or sorry, not all in golden. You go like Oreo dial up, so Superman up. And you stick to just because it's easier to define commons in that era.
That's true.
But then, of course, you're dominated by 300-point Superman, right? So, modern is probably the best way to go, and I feel like it's cool and it's very inclusive, but it's a side tournament thing at best. Is the way I see it. Like it's a sideshow attraction at best.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But it's the only other format I can think of that isn't golden or modern that I would suggest, because right now golden needs to be curated, but it isn't curated by the people who need to be curating it.
There are people who are working on translating old rules to new rules, whatever. So that's good.
Yeah, but
they're not official by any means.
Exactly, right? So then we have to. What ends up happening is the conversation becomes, well, The Rock says this for Golden Age tournaments at a local venue, and then it's like, well, The Rock says that, but like the interpretation may be incorrect in some certain degree, or Golden Age has kind of been left to the judges as it stands, right?
Right. I mean, at one point, I did bring up the document to Patrick, whatever. So, I mean, if you had somebody to look at it and verify that it was all reasonably good and there's no leaps, but
it would be a large number of people looking at it.
It would be a big document.
Level-headed. It would be a lot of level-headed people have to look at it too. And
it's so labor-intensive.
Yeah, and the big part of it is like this will need some degree of a ban list And like that ban list has to be things that break fundamental cores of functionality of the game, right?
I think Pat's been doing a good job with the ban list so far.
Well, he was. I don't know. Is Jakeem still on it?
I can't remember. I don't think so.
Because like I look at a character like Jakeem Thunder and Unimind, and I don't think they're Golden Age ban worthy, or even Zombie Super Scroll for that thing. They're strong, but I don't think they break the fundamental flow of the game, right? But then
Super Scroll, I think I'm double checking the list right now. I'm pretty sure Jakeem got taken off because of how the game is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ban list right now, for what it's worth, is Orange Power Battery, Team Bases, Felix Faust, Copycat, Super Scroll, Resurrection Man, Justin Seifert, Ophidian, Morphing Jar, Book of the Skull Resource. I don't know why Super Scroll is still on there.
I don't agree with Book of the Skull, personally. It's just strong, right? That falls under the fundamental of it's strong, but all it does is give +2 attack and a power that exists in either charge or running shot, right? And then some extra effects, but none of it.
I think a lot of the issue with the book is how easy it is to spin now. Like, you can spin it off shredder damage, or like there are other things that are way better about it now than it was at the time.
Yeah, but Book of Skulls also exists in a world where in that world, green power battery exists, which slows it down.
Right, but it also doesn't affect charge or running shot, so
it kind of does.
No, because those attacks are at no cost, not free.
Are they not considered no cost?
Yeah, because at no cost is always used for actions in the middle of other actions.
Oh,
I have my pack. Charge says.
I got it. Calm your shit. God damn, man.
I thought you didn't have your pack.
Right here.
You said you didn't have it before.
Amber went and got it. You heard me say, Amber, go get it?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Calm your shit. Calm down. You're up here. You need to be down here. Where I'm getting at is that now we have new wording that says no cost. Does that affect the green power battery in some way? Does that need to be readdressed?
That's an interesting point.
Right? Because
is it bad that the green battery is less good as far as player experience?
Right.
Because, like, think about how much free actions we have now. Like, what? Lex and Joker were good in Modern for a while, and they had like 20 free actions.
Ultimately, what I'm getting at is fundamental flow. Was the Omega Drive on that ban list by any chance?
No.
That needs to go. Because that enables too many stupid things. Right?
I mean, that basically enabled Ophidian.
It enabled Ophidian. Here's the thing. If you can take a small element that takes a big thing away, take away the small element, right? Keep the Book of Skulls, get rid of Split Lip.
Interesting.
Right? Because some things are going to be, and this is why, like, when it comes to the ban list, somebody with a level head has to kind of look at it and say, what is disrupting the flow of the game, right? And when I say the flow of the game, picking a power is just a fundamental thing that's part of the design that we have to accept exists. So we can't say no Zombie Super Scroll, we can't say no Jakeem Thunder or those kinds of guys, because WizKids has accepted that this is going to be a thing that exists. Deal with it, right? But when something like the Morphing Jar is a good example of, we're going to switch sides of the board. Hold on, what? Right? That makes absolutely zero sense.
Yeah.
And also over-enable something that shouldn't be happening that quickly in the Magneto, right?
Yeah, or other kind of effects that you want to do weird stuff with. Yeah.
But it's also a small element of a bigger team. It's only 40 points of that team, right? I'm kind of 50-50 on Black Talon because he breaks mind control rules a little too hard and allows some extra action shenanigans.
Right, but mind control is way less good now as far as he goes.
I mean, yes, as far as he goes, you're correct. Like, he enabled some stupid things before mind control changed. But then he also becomes better in a way of his original intention, which was to be able to get an extra action out of a character. And now that extra action out of a character might give them charge when they shouldn't, or running shot when they shouldn't have it, right? So
kind of, yeah.
But I'm also like, when I had to have that conversation, it's like, no, we don't have to get rid of that guy. It's not necessarily a fundamental flow gone.
It also just makes everything more of a pain when you have to go through all these figures and have an argument about it. It's a lot of upkeep.
It's not as much as you'd think because you go through the list. You can go through the list super quickly. It's like what broke the flow, and you go back to all the old meta games even.
Right,
and like,
but also
it's like, okay, what was the problem character in the old day? Nightcrawler, not a problem anymore. Go back. Superman, they changed the rules to fix him.
Right.
Metron, he was just okay. This Nightcrawler, maybe we got to talk about this Nightcrawler because he does a weird thing. No, we don't because it's manageable now. You go up there. It's when we got to things like a lot of the things that super fundamentally broke the game got changed to a degree. I do agree with the complete banning of team bases.
Yeah, I remember one time when I did we were running the 2 clicks whatever tournament. I was like, oh, everybody has to have theme. That's balance, right? And then it was, team bases.
Team bases are theme. Guess what, buddy? They're considered a theme team.
Yeah, I think on top of all that, the other thing is that new stuff comes out, makes old stuff better, and it's like you have to do that for the whole game now.
You do, yeah. You have to readdress it every time a set comes out, but a lot of the times the conversation gets had pretty quickly. It's like, hey, you know what? That would work with this Golden Age figure. Hold on, what? Yeah, okay.
But also, do you preemptively ban something before anybody actually plays it?
You never ban the new thing. You always ban the old thing.
Right, but I'm saying you're preemptively banning it before anybody even gets a chance to play it or not play it. Like,
would you allow poisonous gameplay before it becomes a problem?
That's a debate people might want to have. Is the problem?
If it immediately creates a poisonous environment, do you want to stop a possible poisonous environment prior to? That's not even a question. If you can definitely guarantee that somehow gameplay is going to be fundamentally, absolutely not work the way HeroClix is supposed to work, you immediately address it, right? Yeah. But you also address it in a way that is obvious, right? Where, let's say the suited henchman made, and this doesn't happen, but I'm saying as an example, he goes back and makes General Zod from Superman, the set, amazing. I don't ban the suited henchman. I ban the General Zod. General Zod's had his number of years of play, right? You ban the old thing. Right? You don't ban the brand new thing that's about to come out. People are buying that right now.
It's funny you say that because there is actually a combo with suited henchmen that I thought of pretty recently.
Did it involve General Zod?
No, because suited henchman never breaks theme. You give it the mob ATA, and if you have a wild card, your just wild card gets mastermind when it wasn't supposed to. I'm just saying that's a thing that you can do in Golden Age. That's just an example.
And then here's the thing: it's like that's an interesting strategy. That's not a game-breaking combo. You
give
a mob ATA.
Right. Yeah.
So if the mob, is the mob ATA really that strong? No, probably not.
I mean, you could debate it because it gives giving mastermind to let's say a Unimind kind of character. If there was a character like that with wildcard, that's a thing to be considering. But basically,
is there not a way to already give it mastermind?
No, there's nothing that gives Unimind mastermind.
Cool. Unimind already gets a selection of powers anyway. All we're doing is you're adding a step. You're adding like a 9-point step to give it mastermind. You spent 9 points.
Well, I'm saying you can't give Unimind mastermind. But the point is that it's insanely hard to curate.
It's not at the same time. No. We basically just did the job, right? Because the curation has to look at the way HeroClix plays, and then you have to say, does this stop HeroClix from being played? The Omega Drive does, because all of a sudden you've got Greed turning into two 175-point characters because you also had a high father, right?
Well, not anymore because Ophidian is gone. But yeah, I get
you wouldn't have to. We're talking about Golden Age, right?
Yeah.
Now, instead of banning Ophidian, if I ban the Omega Drive, I'm not allowed to outwit my own characters.
Yeah.
So I took the smallest element. Ophidian is still good, right? Yeah. But I took the smallest element out of it to allow good play with good characters. I'm 50.
You stop the part where you get to outwit your own characters for your benefit. That's not supposed to happen.
So. Exactly. So, and you can't really pull off this double whatever the thing that Highfather turned into.
Double tachyon?
You stop the double tachyon in its tracks. Yeah. Right? It won't happen. Awesome. So then what becomes the next actual, because that shouldn't happen. That's 350 points coming from like less than 200.
That's why I banned team bases. So
And team bases should never have been designed in the first place. They break a fundamental of the game, which is building teams. Right? The only one that was really mutably buildable was the zombie team base.
But it was also the absolute best.
Right? So, I mean, because it was mutable, but there was also a certain number of them that was super good in a combination of each other.
Yeah, there was debate to be had as to which was the best.
Ultimately, they were all a terrible idea. Right? So
yeah, I like to actually build my teams. So
yeah. So then what else do we have? Morphing jar switches sides of the boards, allows something to occur a little too quickly, and it's a change state that is questionable at its best, and it's honestly coming from a set that is not frequently purchased. You know, like I think there's Yu-Gi-Oh! Overstock in trash cans because the contract ran out and the distributors were required to destroy and remove all of it from their stocks. So, I mean, and it's the morphing jar, one figure out of it. And it's 40 points. It's the smallest part of this team. You can still pull it off with things like Pip the Troll in 2 move actions can put him in your opponent's starting area.
Yeah.
But you actually have to get there. You have to earn it, right? Or you could do it with what's his name? Hellspawn.
True.
Right? Hellspawn could still pull it off. Shatterstar could still pull it off, right? It's not impossible to do. It's just that particular version was silly, right? And it was also low costed. You now, instead of spending 105 points, you have to spend 138, closer to 150, instead of 105 to pull off this trick. Actually, you have to pay more with the morphing jar now I think about it because you have to use Black Talon. But you can't pull it off right away because what happens is you'd attack with Black Talon, and then Magneto would immediately be able to pull that off, right? And now you introduce a timing element because Shatterstar, thanks WizKids, was errated to say, hey, right after he does this move, you can't make an action.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, Faust breaks the allowance of actions. Should be gone. Shouldn't have even been designed.
Nope.
Right? And anybody who... A lot of people say, hey, why not ban Doctor Strange as well? Doctor Strange didn't do even remotely close to the same things. He
had a couple shared effects.
Look at the symbol side of that dial. That's the only thing you have to look at because that's where Faust fundamentally broke the game.
Yeah.
What else is on the ban list? Orange Battery.
Justin.
Orange Battery. Justin Seyfried. It's the same problem as team bases. Too many actions coming from too small a source.
You essentially make a figure twice as good for 40 points. Krang. Without Justin, Krang would not have been a thing. But with him, yeah.
Justin Seyfried for 40 points makes Krang a 340-point character.
Yeah.
I get that. That's if I'm paying 140 or 174 character, I should get 170 points worth of value out of that character. Justin, while killable, you know. So what was next on the ban list? It was
Orange
Battery. I mean, because you do have to bring the powers that you cancel, right? But then because pick a power, it basically says any power so long as I play like Hat, because I can use Hat to stop powers if I wanted to, or 75-point Goblin King, right? That's a low investment to stop just about any power in the game.
That's also about a third of your build right there. I think, yeah, it's debatable.
It really, because I can do it at minimum 16, right? So it's actually less than a third, a little under a third. And I can use those 16 points perfectly fine. A Mjolnir and 6 other points with a symbiote?
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about copycat, because, playing what you brought is just no.
Copycat doesn't make any sense. Actually, you know what they should also ban is the Justice League Dead Man, so that nobody ever has to read that character ever again.
Well, yeah, they did ban Resman because he's in the utility you get from him for the points is insane.
I'm talking like the classic Justice League, like the third set that
Possession. Yeah.
That Dead Man, that made no sense, and no matter how many times you read it, everybody
he's pre-Oreo, so Rock Age doesn't care about him to begin with, so that's fine.
Well, that's Rock Age. I'm talking about Golden Age, right? That's the thing. I'm bringing Golden Age.
Oh, fudge.
Right?
Oh, that's crazy.
So now it is going to take a little bit of things to go like, okay, what are these? Some of the special objects break some certain fundamentals because they don't cost anything. Those should probably go, right?
Yeah.
Because there's some effects like if you're within 4 squares of this, you lose flight. Okay, that's got to go, right?
Yeah, or like one that says you don't get to do actions, you get perplexed instead if you roll badly, whatever.
Yeah. Like if it didn't cost anything, it shouldn't be. There was another one. I think it was like some kind of vine.
The healing vine, the ethereal vine. Yeah.
Like that. I think that cost 0 points. It was like
the older cost 0 points. Shield disruptor, shut off all reduction within 4. Like there's a lot of insane ones that are 0 points.
In a Golden Age world, I would get rid of those. What else? So yeah, those are fundamentals that have since changed, right? I'd still allow I'd still allow most resources, with the exception, like you said, of the orange battery. I'd allow the Bolt Book of the Skull, and it's just a matter of go back and think about what you remember breaking the game, or what you remember being confusing, and then. I
mean, at a certain point, everybody has played competitive since a certain point, so we all know what's good from Deadpool.
Yeah, and we also know what changed the rules and. Got changed. It's like, okay, we don't have to deal with this conversation anymore. Like the veteran icon Superman, like the police cars. Like the police cars got dealt with. I don't have to deal with them. Right? They don't do penetrating damage anymore. That was their errata. Cool, done. You can still use them, and you can still use them functionally, right? The Mandarin's power plant, I think still it's just good, right? It's a hard balance. It's a hard balance of these decisions saying, well, that was just good. It wasn't broken. So leave it. And I think that's a conversation you generally – it's a hard conversation to have. And the first time you make the ban list is difficult. The second – curating it after the first one's been made, probably not the big a deal. So what I'm saying is I think HeroClix should consist of modern – Golden, and then the Pauper as a side function. Cool. I mean, if you were to compare this game to Magic the Gathering, and you wanted to have their version of what they call modern, which would be what a lot of people call Silver Age, then the Rock Age is pretty good, or we'll call it the Oreo base Age to make everybody happy, right? So I think an Oreo base Age would make a lot of people happy. Cool. And it would probably have the exact same ban list as the Golden Age, to be brutally honest. And from there, it's all smooth sailing. Once that first ban list is up, it's done. So the actual question was, which extra rock format would be great? So you got Rock Age. They're working on that. We have Golden, and I think Golden should be a thing, but I think Golden needs curation. I just wish WizKids would do it. Or some WizKids would ask me, hey, do you want to make a ban list for this? Okay, give me like a month just to make sure.
You're pretty burned after the last one had figures from Batman Alpha in it and cop cars.
Cop
cars didn't win modern, so.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I would, I just say add Pauper as a side attraction, or possibly if you think it's manageable, modern Pauper as a thing, and you could just make it very clear that is a strictly fast forces and common figures. I think you're right. I think Pauper could be a competitive format that would act, and it's a competitive format that would take away any of this complaining until people start spending $7 on Super Henchman.
Or people start complaining that it's stale, there's a lot of options. Like 2 of those options, like Batman Beyond hard counters Cable in certain ways. So it's like,
I think they fight each other pretty hard because Cable ignores hindering for movement, and you can use his phasing to make a close combat attack.
Yeah, and he also has energy shield, so Batman Beyond needs to hit decent numbers.
Well, yeah, and Batman Beyond would want Bruce Wayne, but Bruce Wayne's a rare, tough.
Oh, you're right.
Get wrecked.
That's too funny.
You got to use the 30-point Joker to make that work, son.
Oh, that's nuts. Wow.
You see, because it's like Batman Beyond seems good. Oh, but he loses a fundamental cool thing about him with the Bruce Wayne, and the Cable gains that because he's just got prob. And also, X-Force would probably be the most dominant keyword because you have two sources of prop. Because the Fast Force Domino is like a 25-point prober, 120-point cable, and we're not even at half the build yet.
And it also depends if it's golden, like do you allow ATAs, in which case X-Force gets even better.
I think that strictly modern comp and popper would be the best route to go. Yeah. Because I was like, Golden Age seemed like a good idea, and I want Golden Age to work so that there's longevity in the price of figures. I want stores to be able to sell their Dusty Old packs or their Dusty Old singles and have them have worth. Fundamentally, though, if we're going to make a popper format for HeroClix, it does need to be Modern Age because design moves forward, and because Golden Age popper would include a 300-point Superman, probably don't need that to happen.
Right, but could you also do a ban list for that format?
I don't want to ban a common list. I don't want to ban a common.
Yeah, fair.
That's effort I don't want to put in.
Right, but if one figure ruins an entire format, I think you might want to consider it.
I mean, I think a modern common popper format type thing would keep commons flowing, would keep people thinking, and it's a part of the collection I think too many of us kind of don't look at anymore. And the modern is competitive right now. If Golden were to come back, cool. I feel like I've had this conversation 1,000 times before. But I think people would start to look at commons a little better or differently when it comes to competitive play, and they might some might find their way onto teams. I live in a world with a dream, and there's
definitely no commons that are the main thing. They're a side at the best.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Batman. Like obviously, Student Henchman see play, and then there are other commons that have ID cards. So like maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So hard to say.
If I was to physically suggest it, and absolutely come down to it, I agree with you. Modern popper. Let's do that. It's a tight format. It's a contained format, and it because of modern rotation, it will freshen up the format at least once a year. Because if modern popper were to be a thing right now, cable would be gone next year, right? Next year, yeah.
Once the rotation, the bubble.
Spider-Man is the bubble edge right now, I think.
Spider-Man
Civil War is the bubble edge.
Right. So we probably
have they updated this yet? Yes, they have. Okay, good. You have.
I think we keep Thor. I think
yeah,
Elseworlds is the last. That's July.
I think Team MT. Well, okay, hold on. Where are we sitting here? We're sitting at April of 2016 on this one. So if I was to go April of 2017, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 would be the cutoff.
But that was a weird one because Civil War got the extra little bit of time. So I don't know if you count that because it was like a multi-month thing, wasn't legal for Worlds because it released in June. So I don't think the Civil War part counts. I think we're really looking at August because that's when Superior Foes was.
I don't think we're going to lose Avengers Defenders that quickly, will we? Has it been like that long? I don't know. The set barely registers.
Hawkeye was played at Worlds that year.
All right, hold on. So have we had two Worlds? This is going to be our second Worlds this year.
What If has had two Worlds now.
No, it has not had two Worlds. It's had one. The second Worlds hasn't occurred yet.
Right, but by the time rotation happens...
What, are they going to change rotation based on Worlds?
Shoot. That's a difficult... Yeah, it's hard to predict. We're going to be wrong no matter what.
Yeah, we're wrong every year on this one. Actually, we were close last year. I said Civil War was gone. And, I mean...
Technically, it should have been, but it didn't have the Worlds, and nobody cared.
Keep it in there.
Keep what?
Keep Civil War in it. Whatever.
Nobody cares.
Does it register still? So... Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Proper comments, modern. Keep it going. There's just one more question that showed up on Facebook. What do you guys think about the super rare hammer from Deadpool? Seems like it'd be good against X Swarms, Blackbird teams, and Sam Cap Overdrive builds, but becomes useless against Cloud Identity Trait. I think you answered your own question.
I mean, yeah, he just doesn't do well with the running shot inspiration now. I don't know.
Who's giving that again? It was Magneto? No,
Marvel Girls. You call in the TK common, whatever. TK, he gets running shot. Seems maybe okay.
Yeah, you got 3 Wolverines on a stop click. Follow up, please.
He's only 50 points. Like, I think in what Soldier. The problem with Soldier is that it's this close to being viable because I think they just need a really good taxi for Sam. Because once you do that, you have Hammer, you have Chase Kirk, you have Peace Machine. Like, you have some really good stuff going on.
Should be focusing on you. Yeah, Soldier is one of those ones that comes and goes. Like,
Soldier is
1 year
this close.
I'm like last meta, it was there. It just something else overshot it. Previous meta, there was a Soldier team that was super viable, but only in the Rock and No Tactics format. Remember the General Lane teams with Jason?
Yeah, the one that Aubrey won with. Yeah.
So
if new John Stewart Green Lantern was a little cheaper, like if he was like 50, I think Soldier actually became viable. But as is, no. So, and also the only other keyword Hammer has is 6-pack, which is
not, bro. I'm getting swole, bro.
I mean, you have what? You have 50 Focus Deadpool, and that's about it. So,
does that one have it? I didn't even think that had one.
There is one. The common and the uncommon have it.
Okay, so what ends up happening is they come on the board, and then you switch to a better one.
Essentially, is that good? Like two shifting focus Deadpools and Hammer is 200. Throw in the prob Domino.
I feel like Hammer was one of those characters that would have been great if he has like enough sources of. There was a time where people considered him, and then something happened and he didn't work. I can't remember what it was. I think
he came out in Deadpool. I don't know. I can't remember when his ruling happened.
Well, I mean, his ruling was on the card. Like I kind of read that correctly. It made sense.
Right, but it had to be ruled on because not everybody was like, "Oh, but do you divide the damage or whatever?" So
you don't divide it; you just deal his damage to everybody. Yeah, it was gross. I think he worked with WizKid too, if I remember correctly.
I mean, yeah, because it's just stats.
Yeah. So anyway. It's we spent a lot of time. See, we even managed to squeeze an episode out of a non-news week because we went on so many goddamn tangents, and we spent like an hour talking about Popper.
You spent an hour talking about Golden Age.
I did spend an hour talking about Golden Age. I also solved Golden Age, so there. Banlist is ready to go. Call me.
2-hour show? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What did you do, you madman?
We have no news this week, so we're gonna over-answer people's questions. I'm gonna do what I do on the Patreon Hangout. Anyway, that said, thank you, Jay, for joining me on the show. Thank you guys for watching live. Thank you guys for watching in the archive. Also want to thank our sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insider site for insights into some great minds and some maniac minds, because I recently put up a tournament report on my WKO win in Elmvale. So you get to hear the mind of a madman or a monster even talk about my team. I also talked about the team prior to Canada Cup, before I added my sizable Super Friends sideline. My sideline, of course, in Elmvale was the number of Super Friends that I had in my possession. Anyway, Jay is also a regular contributor on the site where he talks about his fringe characters that we don't normally think about in the metagame that could be possibly showing up. In fact, at one point, he talked about Wizard, and a week later, I think Paris had won a tournament with a Wizard on his team. So keep your eyes on this site. $3 a month gets you access to the premium stuff. You can visit there on a regular basis and get tournament reports that do occur on a regular basis. It's run by Patrick Iboka, who was on the show a little while ago helping me out. He's a 2-time World HeroClix champion, so he knows his HeroClix as well, guys. That said, once again, thank you, everybody, for joining us. All these crazy ideas, they come from a number of things, and one of those things is practice, because practice will make your team better. Have a good night, everybody. Wave at everybody, Jay. Now, wave, monkey.